Hi guys, welcome back to the series Java Full Stack Made Easy, and this is session 50. Here we'll be talking about the part 2 of Angular single page applications, components and data binding. So previous session we spoke about creating a component and adding up that particular component to its root component, that was actually the app root. Fine. So now the same component that I have created, this app dash menu component, I'd actually like to place this particular component on the index.html itself. So if you remember, when I was adding this particular component to index.html, it was not getting displayed. So let me just once again just go back to the command and hit the ngserve so that I get the execution of this. So ngserve -o, that will open it into the browser as well, right? Now if you remember yesterday when I was trying to do this app menu on directly on the index.html, I was actually not able to place that, right? So now you can see that the component is placed. So if that component is not placed, let me just save it. Let me in fact save everything. So it was the previous result that was saved. Now I have removed it from the app root, and then I have added it onto the index.html, and I was expecting that element to be displayed on the index.html, but you can see that it is not displayed on the index.html. So is it possible to add up the components that we have created directly on the index.html like this app root or not? uh, Now basically, if you understand that app root is also a component and this app menu is also a component itself, then why is it taking up the app root and why not app menu, right? So one reason what you can say is this is the parent component and this is the child component and this is the root component for all the components, but still this is also a component itself, right? Now to understand that and to modify these things, you can go to the app.module.typescript, and in the app module.typescript you can see that the root component app is actually bootstrapped. Fine. So what we can try and do is, again once again, what you can see is the bootstrap takes the array itself. Fine. So now in the bootstrap array, what I would like to do is I'm gonna bootstrap the app menu component as well, and then I'm gonna test if I bootstrap this component, then the bootstrap component will be visible or not. Fine. So let's just add up this bootstrap component here into this array, which is our menu component, right? So this component I will add, save it, and once again I'll go to my browser and you can see that the menu component is also added. So any component that you want to directly place it on the index.html, you have to bootstrap it. Without bootstrapping that component, it will not be visible on the index.html. Fine. So I'll be sharing you this piece of code. Let's go back, and this is the day 50 I have created. So demo 1, let's call it as bootstrap menu component. So in the bootstrap, when I bootstrap the menu component, it is the file app dot module dot typescript which I have changed. Fine. So apart from that, I have changed one more thing, that is the index.html. I have added the component on the index.html. Fine. So both the files I am giving you. This is our index.html. So where I have added the app dash menu. So that app dash menu is nothing but the selector which is created on the menu component. Fine. So you can see that menu.typescript, this is the selector app dash menu which is added in there. Fine. So the next thing that we will be talking about in Angular is about the concept of data binding. So let us see how can we bind the data and what do we mean by data binding. As for now, once again I will close up all the files that I have opened. So let's just close it, and let us focus only on the main files, that is our app.typescript, that is app component typescript, and the app component HTML. Only two files are under my focus, so let us just focus on that. I just collapse the menu, and let's talk about the app dot component, that is app dot typescript, and the app dot HTML. So here in the app component typescript, I will be creating some variables. This is a class, right? So a class can contain variables. So let me just create a variable. uh, let's call this variable as maybe uh, title is already created there, so let's call it as name or something. Fine. So I'm gonna create a variable called as name, and I'll give it some value. Let's say John is the value which I want to give. So let's just save it. So I have created a variable called as John in my app.typescript. Now is it possible for us to get that value of the variable here? That's what data binding is all about. That is taking the data of your TypeScript to the HTML. Fine. So let us understand whether we can do that or not. So in Angular, it is possible by making use of the interpolation, and this is how we write the interpolation. Fine. So you just write the variable name inside that, and your data will be bind. So let's go and see the data whether it is bind or not. So you can see that hello, welcome to Angular, and John is displayed there. John is actually the value of this variable name. If I just write something like name, it is going to be displayed as it is. The name will be displayed as it is. You can see that name is displayed as it is. But if you want the value of that variable name, then you have to add it inside the interpolation. Anything that you have added inside the interpolation, it will consider that this has to be bind from the TypeScript. Fine. So also the advantage of making use of this Angular is that I can directly write, since it is a HTML page, so I can use HTML tags and write things like this within that particular tag. So only this part of name will be bold out in H1. So this way it'll make our life easy to create Angular pages, and that's why it becomes much more easier for us to bind the data. Imagine the same thing you're doing in JavaScript, right? So this is something we used to also do in JavaScript. We used to create the variables, and we used to bind those variables into a HTML page, right? So either we have to make use of the inner text.html, right? Inner HTML, or we have to also make use of what, get element by ID. So all those things are not there here, right? So we are not writing anything like get element by ID and all that. We are just creating a variable inside the TypeScript, and we want the HTML to know that the variable has to be displayed, and we are just writing it within the interpolation. Fine. So that way we can simply create variables and interpolate it to the Angular template. Fine. So once again, I'll just be sharing this particular piece of code with you, a very simple code where we are performing data binding. So this is our demo 2 data binding. So there are two type of data binding available into Angular. One is one-way data binding. Now the one is two-way data binding. We will understand both the concept, whether it is one-way data binding or two-way data binding. Fine. And also in this case, this is just a one-way data binding, from where like I have taken the data from TypeScript and added to the HTML. A two-way data binding is like you change the data into TypeScript, it reflects to HTML. You change the data in HTML, it reflects to the TypeScript. So that is what two-way data binding is all about. We have still not seen two-way data binding. So this is just one-way data binding using Angular interpolation. So let me just commit this. All right. So with interpolation, what all other things we can do? We can do a lot of things. Like for example, in this case, what I'm gonna do is I will be taking up different type of variables. Now that in JavaScript, what we have seen is JavaScript was not type safe, right? So this is TypeScript what I'm writing. So TypeScript is type safe. The best way of writing this variable is not like this. So what I have to do is I have to just specify the type of the variable, that is name colon string. So in this case it is type safe, right? So if I want the value of the variable to be changed, then TypeScript allows us to create a variable of type any. So if you create a variable of type any, in that case you can give it a string value or an integer value or any type of value, but this is usually not recommended. Fine. So this is the best way of doing it. Then let me now create something like num1 of type number, which is equal to any value, let's say 12, 13, 14, anything. And the num2 I will be creating, which I'll give another value. So there are two variables that I have created. Let's call it as 18. Fine. So two variables I have created, and what I want is I want these two variables to be uh, interpolated to my Angular. Fine. That is the template to my main page. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just say the sum of, I want to give the num1 and num2, that will actually display me the numbers there. Fine. Is equal to, now what I want is, I just want the addition of those two numbers. Interpolation is powerful enough to directly add your numbers like this, num1 plus num2. We can do this in interpolation as well. So it's a powerful feature added in Angular. So if I go to the browser, you can now see that the sum of 12 and 18 is 30. So this sum addition, I have not done it into the TypeScript, I have directly done it into the interpolation. You can do it into TypeScript if you wish to, but your interpolation is powerful enough to do that. Fine. So you can directly write the numbers as well to add in an interpolation. For example, you can say 5 plus 25, or let's say 5 plus 5 in an interpolation, and it is able to perform that as well. So you can see that 5 plus 5 is 10. Let me just add a break line here so that it is added on the next line. Save it, so you can see that. Fine. So interpolation is powerful enough to perform the calculations as well for you. So I've modified two files here, the app.typescript and the app.html. Once again, I'll be giving you both. So what I have done is simply created variables in TypeScript and added those variables to the HTML. So binding the data from TypeScript to HTML. So let's call it as data binding to. So my first file is app.typescript. The reason why I'm adding the name of the file is that in Angular you will be modifying multiple files. Fine. So and most of the files looks the same. So that is why it will make your life easy if I add up the name of the files. Fine. Alright, so like I have added the data into interpolation, I have another option, that is I can add up the values inside TypeScript and then bind that particular thing into the template, that is HTML. So whenever I say template, it is HTML. Fine. And let's go here. Now what I would like to do is, I already have two variables declared here. I'd like to have another variable, let's say the variable sum of type number, and as for now it is 0. There's nothing, no value given to it. Fine. So what I want is, I want the value of this particular number to be I want to create a button and I want to generate an event. When a user clicks on calculate or something or add, then the number, these two numbers 12 and 18 needs to be added. So I want to generate, basically I want to generate a event. And if you remember, in JavaScript we used to write the events like on click, on mouse click, or maybe on mouse over, or on key pressed and all that. So even the events are available in Angular as well. So let's see how do we generate an event. So what I want is, I want to have a button, and on click of that button an event needs to be generated. So for that, obviously I would like to have, I have to add a button, right? So let's create a button, and then on click of that particular button, let's sum up the value of these variables. So I've created a button here, and then on click of this particular button I want to sum up something. So here it is not on click, it is just a click, and every event that we are writing, we have to write it within the brackets. Fine. So it is the click event that I want to generate, and upon a click of this particular button, what needs to happen? Fine. So I'm calling a function here, that is the sum function. As for now, I've not created the function yet, so I'm going to create a function sum inside the TypeScript. So let's go here and create a function sum. If you remember, in JavaScript I told you that if it is a class, then you can create a function without using a function keyword. So most of the things will be similar into TypeScript and JavaScript as well. Fine. So I am creating a sum function. So although already I have created a variable called as sum, so I'll call it as sum var, because the naming conflict should not be there. So I've created a sum var as a variable and then sum as a function, because I have already added sum in here, and I'm saving these files. So now what happens is, the moment a user clicks on this particular button, let's call it as click me or calculate. So when a user clicks on this particular button, then this sum function gets called. So once the sum function gets called, as for now I just want to put up a pop-up that is alert hello. Fine, let's save it and see whether the event occurs or not. So as for now, I'm not doing any calculation. Just on click of this, hello needs to be popped up to me. Yes, that's being happening. That's good. So now what I want is, I want the result of the value, that is 12 and 18, to be displayed after I click on this particular button. So let's put up a message here. The result of the numbers will 30 will be displayed only after clicking up this particular button. Okay, so let's call this button as sum or calculate, and upon click of calculate I'm calling sum, and that actually needs to displayed, that has to be displayed over here. In interpolation I'll display the value of somewhere. Okay, and let's also give a message within the paragraph tag. I'll do this so that it comes up on the next line automatically. Okay, the sum of two numbers is, let's save it, and in this particular function, instead of just putting up an alert, let's add up these two numbers, that is num1 plus num2, and store it into a somewhere. So somewhere it will be equals to num1 plus num2. So if you remember, once again, in JavaScript classes, whenever I was using variables, I had to make use of the keyword this. So that rule is also available into TypeScript. Here also I have to do that. Now that I have created a button, and upon click of that particular button, this value, the sum of two numbers is 0, is being displayed. That is because as for now that sum is 0, and only if I click on calculate, the sum will be displayed. So you can see that when I click on calculate, the result is displayed, that is 18. Fine. So, and also here something is changed, that is the sum of 18 and 18 is 36. So let's see what is that and why is that being changed. Fine. So this dot somewhere, so it was 18, this is fine, num1 and num2. The sum of num1 and num2 is num1 plus num2. That should not be reflected. So somewhere, let's check that. So value of num2 is getting changed here, that is 36 upon click of that particular button. So this is 18, which is fine, and num1 is 12 is fine. So this is num2, number is 0. So let's click on this. So there's some glitch happening here. So let me check what is the problem there. So you have a num1 which is 12, num2 which is 18, and somewhere equals to somewhere of type number equals to 0, and the somewhere equals to this dot num1, oh sorry, that is plus this dot num2. All right, so let's reload this, and that is 30, which is correct. So by mistake I have, instead of adding up plus, I've changed that. Fine. So now let me give you these two. So in this case what I have done is I have created a event in Angular. So this is my demo 4, let's call it as event. So this is a click event which I have generated. Once again, the app.html, and then the app.typescript. Only two files I am modifying, the HTML and the TypeScript. And in the previous examples I have bootstrapped the menu component, where I modified the app.module.typescript, which I have already provided you. Fine. So this is how we can use events, and obviously like the click event, we can also generate the other events. For example, instead of having the click event, if I want to have a double click event, then it's all fine. So let's go here and generate the double click event. Okay, so it should be double click. Fine. So let's save it, and upon double click of this particular button, something happens. Okay, so let's say double click to calculate. Let's save it, let's go back. Now if I, let's reload this. So now that if I click on the calculate, it shows me 30, and if I double click on this button, then it should calculate this value. So I'll double click on this, then 30 will be displayed. If I single click on it, it will not be displayed. So you can see that because the double click event is being added on that. So likewise we can add up a double click event or maybe a mouse entered event or any event of our choice. Like let's add a mouse entered. So instead of a double click, we can go for a mouse enter event. Let's save it. And now there's a third button, acha, mouse enter to calculate. Let's save it. And if I move my mouse here, then the value needs to be calculated. Now you see that it is 0. The moment my mouse moves here, it will be calculated. So that way we can generate different type of event. It can be a key event, it can be a double click event, it can be a click event, or any event of our choice. Fine. So same way, let me first put up this values inside the uh, repository, more events. Demo 5, more events. Fine. This app.typescript and the app.html. So that's how we can perform the data binding. So in our next session, we will talk more about the data binding. Here we have generated the click, and using interpolation, we are binding the data. In the next session, we will perform the again one way as well as the two-way data binding. I just don't want the length of the video to be too much. That's the reason we will be doing it in the next video. So stay tuned for the next session, where we will talk about the concept of two-way data binding as well. So see you in the next video.